Good morning, everyone. You are listening to the new WCEG network on WCEG Talk Radio.com, or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, WCEG network. I'm attorney Melaney LaGrone, your host of Beyond the Border, and my guest today is attorney Audra Doyle for the next 1 hour. We're the worldwide community empowerment zone where we speak life into the community, all things immigration. The topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. So, Audra, good to see you. I am so glad you are here with me this morning.
Thank you.
I think it's been a minute since Beyond the Border has been on. I think I want to say prior to the pandemic. So it's good for us to finally be back and be able to talk all things immigration. So I thought what we would do today is start off with, since before the pandemic, we had a different president. Yes. And our good old Mr. President Trump. And now we have President Biden. So let's kind of get into and let the audience know maybe some differences that are going on right now. How President Trump was, how he thought about immigration versus how President Biden thinks about immigration. And if we're making any progress, are we making progress?
Small steps, I think, is the progress that we're making. There was a lot of hope in January 2021 when Biden was inaugurated. There was so much hype and talk about a big immigration reform bill. All of my clients knew about it. Everyone was asking about it. And here it's March 2022. We don't have an immigration reform bill yet. And that is disappointing, I have to say. We were all hoping that there would be a path for folks who previously don't have any path to get their status corrected, to get a green card, and eventually become a U.S. citizen. Particularly for young people, we call them the dreamers. And Melaney, you might probably call them the dreamers too. A lot of folks have Daca, which is deferred action for childhood arrivals. These children came when they were little. They were brought by their parents in most circumstances, but they were brought into the United States without permission. It's called entry without inspection for most of these Daca kids. And so the result of that is they're here, but they can't go any farther, right? There is no way in the current law that allows them to move from that entry without inspection, just being in the US, to going over and getting a green card. I think the chances of that happening are pretty small. Of course, there's an exception to every rule, but that's basically what we're seeing. And we have millions of dreamers right now. So we were hoping to see some immigration reform to help make a path for these people who have no status whatsoever to make themselves legal. What do you think, Melaney?
Yeah, there's, hundreds of thousands of Daca immigrants here. That is ridiculous. And I don't understand. And I guess that's one of the biggest things that is going on right now is that literally they're here, they're working, they pay taxes, they do everything that they're supposed to do. And if it's decided that this is just going to be completely cut off and finished, then what happens? What happens to them?
Yeah. And we have a Democratic president. We have a Democratic Congress, both houses, and they still have not been able to settle on an immigration reform plan to fix this mess. And I really have to say it's a mess for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. And I wonder what the holdup is. Like, why can't they come to an actual decision on this? And then another thing I know a lot of people are talking about right now is they feel like, President Biden is for immigrants, that he says it and everything, but everyone feels like there's nothing moving forward, even in other parts of immigration law. And I think the biggest issue is the fact that he's coming behind President Trump that implemented all of these policies and procedures and everything against immigrants, and he can't just, reverse it all at one time.
Right.
But he's getting,
which we wish he could. That would be nice.
That would be awesome. Just snap your fingers and be like,
yes,
hey.
Come on, President Biden, let's just snap your fingers.
That is over.
Melaney, I suspect, I have theories, and you and I live in this world every day. So we see what happens. We, have the time to think about it and contemplate why things are the way they are. And I have a few ideas of why we haven't seen so many changes. And one that just came to mind is that although we now have a Democratic controlled Congress and president, the folks working at the Immigration Service, the people that do the work every day, they're the same people that were working under President Trump. They haven't replaced all of these employees with folks that are more sympathetic to immigrants. And so maybe that old kind of atmosphere that we had under the Trump administration, a lot of those people are still working now. And those are the ones that are actually looking at our immigration cases that we send into the government.
Right.
So they're harsh, they're tough.
That's a really good point. But one thing is, asylum.
Yes.
The new asylum law, or what do we want to call it, that has taken effect to where the immigration judges now will not have that say so in anyone that crosses the border and seeks asylum. It's going to be more of the asylum officers determining that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one good step.
Yes. And on that note, I feel like we need to hire more officers. I feel like a lot of places in immigration are understaffed. And so we're seeing a lot of slow processing times, particularly with asylum. From what I can tell, it's very slow.
Yeah, definitely. And that's not one. Audra, do you do asylum cases?
I don't.
Okay.
So I'm watching, and I hear about things, but I haven't filed my own cases.
Me neither. We have very limited asylum cases.
Yes.
And I guess for the audience, so that you all will know actually who we are and what we do. I am an attorney in Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is just a little bit outside of Atlanta. I handle immigration and criminal defense matters, and that crossover between the crimmigration that everyone says. So it's the crossover.
I love that word.
I know, right? I feel like it's a made up word, but it works. So that crossover with, my non-US citizen clients who get into criminal trouble with the criminal courts and are able to determine the best possible outcome for their cases based on their immigration status. So we handle those type of cases, family-based petitions mostly, and citizenship. And Audra is an attorney at Doyle Law. And Audra, what type of cases do you specifically specialize in?
I do affirmative immigration. So that means I help people immigrate lawfully to the United States. We handle family immigration, employment immigration, and naturalization. And a little niche that I specialize in is folks who have extraordinary ability, and also people whose work is important to the United States. And we call it the national interest. So these are, I like to call them the best and the brightest. They're bringing their skills and talents to the United States to help our country and to help our people. So that is a big focus of my firm.
Oh, nice. That sounds very interesting.
It is so interesting. And I learn about all kinds of things I've never heard of before.
Wow. Well, give us some examples. So,
okay.
What exactly does that mean?
Okay, extraordinary ability means someone has reached the very top of their field, and the field can be really different. So for example, last year we finished up a case for an author of extraordinary ability. They have huge book sales. They have been on media tours and all this type of thing. So they are one of the best authors in their country, and we were able to help them immigrate to the U.S. Another case, a lot of things that we do are related to the arts and to sports. And the current case we're working on is called Additive Manufacturing. Now, Melaney, don't we all know what that means? I was like, what? AM, I don't know, but it's about 3D printing. And he is working on new ways to manufacture products in the United States, and his efforts are going to bring back jobs to the United States. He has 19 patents. He's on the board of directors to make the rules for the manufacturing companies in the US. So he's a hotshot, and we have just filed his case yesterday. So that's the kind of, it's so cool. And I thought this is very important to the United States. Everybody talks about bringing back manufacturing jobs. And, we know so many of our goods are imported, and he's finding a way to help us.
But people always talk about how immigrants are taking jobs away from United States citizens.
He's creating thousands of jobs. Yeah. And so I made sure that we really emphasize that with his case, because those immigration officers reading, they also, hear from their family members. They're Americans just like us. And I hope that that will be very persuasive to them.
Nice. We definitely need more skilled people like that over here in the United States, because if everyone thinks about it, if we could fill the jobs here in the US, obviously we would do that. But because some fields are so specialized and we cannot fill jobs here in the United States, we have to look outside the country for it. And it's not that that person is taking away a job coming here in the US, we couldn't find anybody.
That's right. And I like to say they're innovators. So these folks are, the most talented from around the world. Why not have them come and bring their talents to the US? We're going to benefit from those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing that I thought that we could talk about today, that's been a huge hot topic, is TPS.
Oh my goodness, yes. Huge hot topic.
So TPS has now been designated for Ukraine and Afghanistan.
I have thoughts and feelings, Melanie, and I'm curious if you do too. I really do. So yeah, let's just see where you lead the conversation.
So the questions, or I guess the comments, a lot of people have been in my ear about this. The concern is we don't know who we're letting into the country. These particular countries have been adverse at times to the US. And now we are opening up our country to them. And so how is Immigration Services going to be able to determine if this is a good person that's coming in the country, or if this is, I have to say the word, a terrorist?
Criminal element, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So how do we guard ourselves against that?
Melanie, I feel that the service does have a duty to protect the American people. And there are safeguards in place to try and make sure that those things you mentioned do not happen. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them doing a security background check. I'm okay with them saying no to someone who has committed multiple crimes and could be a danger to our community. Now, you handle crimmigration, so I'd love to hear your side of that story.
So,
I know. Let's dig in. So that's my take.
Everyone slips through the cracks. Everyone can slip through the cracks. I don't feel that our process is adequate enough to be able to determine. I think people are going to slip through the cracks, unfortunately. And then I feel like, yes, it's putting the American people in jeopardy because that person slipped through the cracks. And the funny thing is like, just like you said, with me handling crimmigration, they want to deport, someone, an immigrant here in the United States for, it could be minor things. And
uplifting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is considered an aggravated felony, which I still can't, it blows my mind.
I can't even believe it. Yes.
But now we're saying, okay, but people from these different countries are allowed to come in, and once again, I don't think that we can safely know everyone's background and everything that's going on with them to allow them to come in. However, I do understand TPS. I do understand temporary protective status, as we call it, and that it is an option and it is a benefit. And I think from here, it's almost like we're just going to have to see how this goes. And then at the end of the day, if someone comes in and let's say maybe they find out on the back end that this person should not be here, then how are they? Right, exactly. How are they getting out?
Yeah. Well, I have to say, our American legal system is built on the idea of innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. And people forget that. So all of these folks, I feel we should give them a chance and let immigration do its background check. Let immigration check out their criminal history. And if they pass, they pass. And I understand some people, a few people may go through those cracks that you mentioned, but why would we punish the whole group who needs this just because we say, well, there might be a few folks? It seems like it should be the other way around.
That's true.
We shouldn't stop the whole program.
And that is definitely true. We should be fair about it. But then I always look back at the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system isn't fair because everyone is always treated guilty until proven.
I know, but I really, I've been a lawyer for 15 years and I still feel idyllic about that idea. And I still, you do more crimmigration than I do, but I really do feel like, well, if I'm not going to believe in that idea, nobody is. So I try to remind people, when I have an opportunity to say, look, when somebody gets accused of a crime, they have a right to go before a group of their peers and let the peers make a decision. And that is a beautiful thing about the U.S. Criminal system. And it does not always work well. There are problems for sure. But other countries, it's much worse. So we have a fairly good but flawed system.
I like that. Fairly good but flawed system.
Yes. Yes. And boy, we could just go down that rabbit hole. And another thing about TPS that I wanted to mention is TPS is for people who are already in the United States. Yes. And I think they've already set a cutoff date. Like if you were here before so-and-so date 2022, then you are qualified for TPS, but nobody after that time. So now Ukrainians and Afghans who have yet to arrive, they will not be eligible for TPS on this first wave.
That is true. That is true. And actually, so the date is, so for Ukrainian foreign nationals, it is, they had to be in the U.S. prior to March 1st.
Thank you. March 1st.
Afghanistan prior to March 15th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I peel the Band-Aid off this a little bit?
Rip it.
I would like to know, and nobody has told me, I'm sure nobody will be calling me and explaining this, how in the world Ukraine got TPS before Afghanistan? Follow that up with, why haven't some other countries like Ethiopia been given TPS yet?
Mm-hmm.
I'm noticing, and I definitely have theories about why that is, and they're very disappointing. My conclusions are disappointing about that. Melaney, have you noticed that timeline does not fit?
Not at all. I was really concerned. I was wondering how that happened, but of course we're not Congress and we're not the president. Yeah. We're just, little old attorneys here working with what we got.
That's right. That's right. But I think, that's a point back to the flawed system. There's immigration, I think, is one of the most political areas. It's a political football, and whichever way the wind is blowing, they're going to make a policy based on that. And so, everybody was all wound up about Ukraine, and maybe that's why it received TPS first. And then they said, oh, wait a minute. But what about Afghanistan? That happened last August. And there was not a hue and cry, I believe, from the right folks to get Afghanistan TPS until now, when it was glaringly obvious that it should have been granted.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So we'll just have to see, and we'll keep everybody obviously informed, because that's one thing about immigration law, you guys, is it changes on a daily basis.
Daily. I don't know about you, but we have to read every day. Like, we have to study the policies and changes every single day. And if you don't, you're behind. Exactly.
Because you can get ready to file a petition and something quirky comes down and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is going to get denied because I need to go fix this.
Yeah. Well, for example, I've got some Daca cases that I was ready to file. And then we had the court order from Texas that said no new Dacas. And so now I have a couple of Daca cases that from one day to the next were qualified. And now I'm not able to file the cases. It happens that quickly.
And you know what? And that's a good lead into, I always tell people, file your petition, make a decision. Okay.
Yes.
People make a decision. Like, there's no more just kind of hanging out there. Oh, I've been married to a United States citizen for 5-6 years now, and I've never fixed my papers and adjusted my status. Make a decision, because this is what happens. So if those Daca people had made a decision long ago, they would be in and they would be okay. And now, so Audra, now they're just they're still just undocumented, right?
They're undocumented. And I'm concerned that undocumented people, I heard recently that I am able to mail in those cases, but what good would it do besides give immigration their names and addresses? Exactly. So I still think that that's, I need to wait. And there's a saying that we like to say in my office, Melaney: fortune favors the bold.
Ooh.
Fortune favors the bold. We tell our clients that, you know what, things could get better or worse. We don't know, but it's okay to file today. Let's get going on this case.
Exactly. I love that. Because that is the hardest thing for me as well in my office, is telling people, you got to do it today, creating that urgency, because they don't see it, because they've been here for so long and they've just kind of been flying under the radar, and they're like, oh, but I have time. And it's like, no, you don't have time.
Yeah, they could have a traffic stop tomorrow and it could all be over. So it's like a false sense of security. And I understand it's a little scary to come into the light and to put your case out there when you've been like underground for so long, kind of hiding in the shadows. That's a scary moment. And so we as attorneys, I want my clients to feel confident when I'm getting ready to file their case, that this is the right choice, and also to feel secure that I'm not going to let them go. Whatever happens with their case, and I know you're the same, we're going to take care of them through the whole process. They need an advocate.
And that's the thing, is like, they just have to trust us on the front end, like, to make that decision. I had one gentleman, and I was so heartbroken, because he had came to us and he wanted to, adjust his status. He is married, okay, and been married forever.
And you're like, why?
And never, ever. And guess what? Got divorced.
Oh my goodness.
Totally got divorced.
You see there?
Even filing. And now he's like, what do I do? And I'm like, what do you want me to do? I don't know. It's like that, and even I always tell people, even in situations like that, don't make that final decision to just get divorced, because there's still ways that you can, still get approved and adjust your status in that kind of in-between stage.
Yes.
But once you make that final decision, it's like, it's so hard.
Yeah. We talk about empowering people on WCEG, right? And I think one thing that people need to understand is that you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
And in immigration, that is certainly the case. And so for the client who got divorced, he didn't know that there would be a negative immigration consequence. So if if you have any sort of immigration situation, you're a foreign national, you don't have a green card or citizenship, it is a good idea to call a lawyer. And I also recommend don't call immigration for legal advice, call a lawyer for legal advice.
There you go. Or don't Google it.
Oh, please don't use Google lawyer. That's not a real lawyer. But, just think to yourself, okay, I'm a foreign national. I know I don't have a green card or citizenship. I'm about to make a big life decision. I need to pay a little consultation fee. And I keep my consultation fee extremely low for this reason, because I want people to have the opportunity to get some good legal advice.
Mm-hmm.
Then they know the lay of the land, as we say. They know what could happen and they're informed. They can make a good decision.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a consultation fee as well, and mine is minimal. It's low. But it's so funny how people don't want to pay a consultation fee, and it's like you're getting. I mean, mine is an hour, so it's like you're getting an hour of my
That's
time
awesome.
To review any documents that you might send, to review your case, give you options. And things like that, because at the end of the day, if you don't know what you can or can't do, then how do you move forward with any situation, like making a decision, for instance?
Yeah.
But you get so many times it's like, oh, well, I want to go, I want to find somebody that's going to do it for free. Well, guess what? That's fine, because there are obviously attorneys that have free consults, but you do realize that you're going to have to then pay them to take on your case, right?
Yes.
So
yes, I agree. And I wonder if it's, our society's idea of what a lawyer does and what a lawyer's all about. I feel like my mission as a lawyer is to help my clients. That is literally what I get up and want to do every single day. I want to help people get through these processes. And I think some people think that, they say, oh, lawyers are just in it for the money and, they don't really care about my case. I know for sure you care about your cases and I care about mine very much so. And I noticed the immigration bar, the lawyers that are in immigration, I think we even have a stronger feeling about that sense of helping others, maybe than other legal groups do.
Absolutely. And I feel like sometimes it's like, I want it more for my clients than they want it.
Yes. It's like, why am I caring more than you?
Exactly. Pull them out their bed. What are you doing? Exactly. All right. So let's see, going back to some news. So we were talking about TPS, and there is also some new designations or redesignations for Sudan, and South Sudan. Because I guess, so we had TPS for them in the past.
Yes.
And they had to now redesignate. So if you were here from Sudan and you were here as of March 1st, now you can file for TPS. And then South Sudan is before March 3rd.
Yep. And I have to say, it's a shame when a country has to be designated for TPS, because that means the country is not safe and people are in danger. It's not a good thing to get TPS designation, related to your country. It helps people. But Melaney, how long will these folks be able to have TPS, and what does it exactly mean?
So 18 months is right now what the required time frame is. And basically TPS is what we called before. We said it's temporary protective status. So that means that you will be safe, from any deportation efforts or anything like that here in the United States. You will be able to get a work authorization and work, and drive, and you can do everything that you would basically want to do if you had, let's say, a green card or lawful permanent resident status. The only thing is that it is temporary, and that's why they call it temporary protective status. So at any point in time, if, the government decides to, that your country is now safe, and that you can go back home, when your TPS expires, then you would have to make that decision and go back home. But as we all know, and this is just the reality of things, when you come to the United States and you're working, you're meeting people, you're driving, you're going to events, you're going to the grocery store, all that type of stuff, you have an opportunity to meet people and date. And you can fall in love and you can ultimately get married. And then, you have a way
to, because you need to understand with TPS, there is no next step to a green card. There has to be some other way. You're here in the US to be able to ask for that green card. I tell my clients, keep your eyes open, look around, notice people, look. Keep your eyes open.
The same thing that we tell all of our United States friends, you know what I'm saying? Go, keep your eyes.
Do you know how many cases I filed love in Target? I don't know what it is about Target, but people meet each other in Target a lot.
Maybe I need to go there.
I know. Oh, okay. Go to Target this afternoon. My most recent case was over a milkshake in Burger King. Love blossomed for a little couple. So it could happen anywhere. Be open.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I always tell my Daca clients also too, same thing. Just keep your eyes open. Because
look around.
Misconception, and this is definitely something I think, Audra, that we need to touch on, is having a baby here is not a path to your green card, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a 21-year maybe path, because that little baby needs to be 21 years old before he or she can sponsor their parents. Yep. So having a baby does not equal a green card, an immediate fix to your immigration problems.
Exactly. And then the stickler with that is, even if they're 21, and then if the parent did not come here with legal status,
gonna need a waiver.
Now you're gonna need a waiver.
That's hard.
Exactly. So yes, everyone, that is just a huge misconception. And I understand, because it's been years and years and years of people talking and things like that. And it's like, no, you can't come and have a baby. I mean, I'm all for having babies, don't get me wrong, but just think of this. If you have your child, okay, and you are, maybe let's say you're a single parent, okay, and you don't have status, and you get put into removal proceedings. Oh, that is like heartbreaking. It's like, then what's going to happen with your child? Who's going to take care of them? Is your child going to go back to your home country with you? Are they going to stay here with possibly a family member or a friend? And I think that's some things that a lot of people don't think about, because once again, like we were talking about before, everyone is so comfortable with just kind of just living their life and, flying under the radar and
day to day.
Exactly. Not thinking future and farther along. So something that I always tell my clients is, have some sort of almost like a succession plan, like have a plan.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. Like
have a plan.
Attorney.
You know what?
Yeah.
Melanie, if they don't have a plan, their child could end up in the foster system. Their child could end up a ward of the state. That's scary.
That is very scary, very scary. And it's just something that we want to open people's eyes. Like, it's not, we're not trying to scare you or anything like that, but there are things that you can do to make sure that your child is okay if by any chance something happens and you end up in removal proceedings. And like Audra was saying at one point in time, and I get this a lot because of doing criminal law, DUIs, traffic offenses, random, shoplifting. I had someone, and it wasn't done on purpose, because believe me, people, sometimes shoplifting is not done on purpose. There are some times where you leave something in the very bottom of the cart, and mothers with kids, and they're doing a lot of things at one time.
Self-checkout gets you in trouble.
You're scanning things, and then you head for the door, and boom.
Yeah.
It's like, well, wait a minute, I didn't even know it was there. But unfortunately, security guards at the stores, they don't think like that because their first thing is it's shoplifting. And so now shoplifting has gotten you into removal proceedings and possibly you're going to be deported. And then what's going to happen to your babies? So definitely one of the things, and I know someone was talking, I forgot who was telling me about this, but like doing power of attorneys, making sure that you have somebody who is on like your children at the school, like on their list of, you know, parents or guardians that can actually come pick your child up, things like that. Audra, do you have any other suggestions that you can think of?
I was thinking what type of lawyer would be good for folks to talk to, maybe a family lawyer, someone who handles like a child custody agreement, help you write the power of attorney documents, maybe, and you can have all of this set up just to protect your kids. And the people we're talking about, they are wonderful parents. They love their families. Many of our immigrants are very family oriented, and it's a wise decision to put some legal protections in place for your children. So I think maybe a family lawyer would be a good recommendation.
And even maybe even like estate planning.
Yeah, that was the other one.
And lawyer as well. Yep.
Estate planning. Melaney, we had one client, let's tell a fun war story. Shoplifting. We had one client who his case was delayed for more than a year because of cheese. Cheese. Okay. He had cheese in his bag that he did not pay for. Now, what in the world? He says, I totally, thought I scanned it just like you said, and he didn't really scan it. Case delayed for more than a year because of some cheese and shoplifting. Yes, it can be that silly, but immigration took it absolutely seriously because they had the S word, shoplifting. You're looking at crime involving moral turpitude, and is this a bad person? And getting a green card is discretionary. So we really had to fight hard for this little cheese incident.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, and I want people to know that's how silly it can be.
Exactly.
Really. I'm coming up to a naturalization. Yeah. It was nice cheese, but come on. But so you think it's minor. People think it's minor, but in immigration, the way the law is written, it can really cause you some trouble.
Absolutely. All right, Audra, before we go today, there's one more thing that I want to touch on.
All right.
Because it's a hot topic right now, and that's this real ID.
Okay.
And so for everyone that doesn't know, government has implemented a real ID, okay? And the real ID basically has, my understanding is it's like it has like all of your every information, all the information ever in your life on it, and it's kind of scanned. So you know how when you go right now to the airports and they put your ID through that little scanner thing, they're pulling up on their screen all of your information. So
yes. And just like this is, I think, a real ID document. So it's got the barcode, they can scan it.
And so the deadline is, I guess, March 3rd of 2023. If you do not have a real ID, you're not able to travel throughout the United States.
By airline.
Yeah, via plane. So what does this mean, though, for our undocumented immigrants?
I have been saying for years, because I'm a cautious lawyer, I say, you don't have any status whatsoever. I recommend that you do not do any air travel in the United States. So that's been my advice for a long time. People can decide what they want to do. But now we see there are definitely going to be some problems if you don't have the real ID, like this little driver's license I have, by next March, I think you said. They don't have that, then they absolutely should not do air travel if they don't have a status.
Exactly. And I tell my clients the same thing, and anyone that just calls,
there's a risk.
Ask the question, because I know everyone thinks that if you have your passport, so maybe like you have your passport from another country, but you're here in the United States, but you're trying to travel in and out of this country and you're undocumented. It doesn't work. And so now they've even added a second layer to that with this real ID. And you can only get a real ID if you have legal status here in the United States. So you've naturalized, you're now a US citizen, you're a lawful permanent resident. You've gotten your green card through other, means, whether it be, humanitarian, something like that. I think even let me see, what did they say about if you have if you're on a student visa. So if you have something like that, because you still get a driver's license,
right?
And you still get to work, but you have to go and make sure that you have the real ID.
Yeah. And I want people to understand, right now it's a hit or miss. The folks you're dealing with at the airport are government agency officers. And if they see something, they are perfectly able to pick up the phone, call the local airport security, who calls the local sheriff's office, who then puts you on an ICE hold. So, it would be that easy these days. If somebody got grumpy with the TSA at the airport, they could make it happen. They could get you detained right now. And I think that the maybe goes away next March. That definitely, if you don't have the proper documentation. Melaney, I was wondering about other transportation. I was wondering about Amtrak and such as Greyhound, maybe. Do you think the real ID also affects those two?
So I don't know, because I haven't heard
know either.
That.
Okay.
I mean, I guess if you want to move, if you want to go state to state on a Greyhound or maybe an Amtrak, I'm trying to think, because they don't really scan your, they just basically, you buy a ticket, they look at your ID to make sure your whatever ID you have matches your ticket,
right?
And then you're allowed to get on. I think it sounds like that they're more concerned with the airlines just because of, our normal in and out, terrorist activity, things like that, using the airlines. So hopefully it will not extend to Greyhound or Amtrak or anything like that, because I do get it. People do have to travel from state to state at times. You might have other family, an emergency, whatever it might be. But, at the end of the day, everyone, you kind of just you do have to sit still. If you are undocumented, you do have to sit still and figure out your next moves on how to make sure that you have legal status here in the United States. So then you have that freedom.
And Melaney, this is under the Biden administration, right? This is a bigger restriction under an immigrant-friendly administration. I'm surprised, I have to say.
Absolutely. Because they originally started it, I think, I want to say it was right back in 2020. I think when Biden was elected or something like that. They started this. Yeah.
Which goes to show that just because we have in Congress and in the White House and in DC, the agency itself is supposed to be apolitical. So whoever's working over at the agency, they may not all be immigrant friendly. They're bureaucrats, and they go from administration to administration. They don't change. So
people have to understand is immigration, they think it's such a negative. I mean, I'm saying it's a negative connotation. It
really is.
And so everyone is always thinking on how they can make sure that, immigrants are not, coming into the country, or that we're limiting their freedom and things like that, versus trying to figure out ways to, give them more freedom.
Right. I feel that immigration is a problem, and we need solutions. So I don't see it in a negative way. Folks are here, they're living in the shadows. I want to say the latest number I heard is 11 million undocumented immigrants right now that are living in our country, going to work, going to school, paying their taxes, living their lives, and they have no way to fix it. People say, oh, why don't they just do it the right way? There is no right way for some of these people. The law has no mechanism for them to correct their status.
Right, which is sad. I mean,
it is. It's so sad. Reform. We need reform.
Right, exactly. And that's another reason why I always tell everyone who is a lawful permanent resident and you are able to become a citizen, you need to become a citizen, because guess what? You can vote. Now you have a say-so in immigration laws and who is in government, who is the president, who's in Congress, and possibly can work to change things. So that's another thing. Don't just sit on having a green card and thinking, oh, I'm good.
Right.
It's like, no, you have to take that even further, because then you can have a say in your life and what is happening here in the United States, which is huge.
Absolutely. Yes, please vote. That's the only way change is going to happen.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Audra, thank you so very much for being with me here today.
It's been so fun. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be able to see you. And for everyone out there on the WCEG network, we will be having Beyond the Border every fourth Saturday of the month. We're going to come back and talk all things immigration at 11 o'clock. And each week or each month, I'll have a different guest with us, sometimes the same guests and sometimes different guests. So definitely look for us every fourth Saturday of the month. And Audra, how can they find you?
Well, my firm is Doyle Law, and the phone number is 404-325-5858. And I'm on TikTok, so just look for Doyle Law Immigration. You will find me there. You'll find me on Facebook.
Loving TikTok. It's hilarious.
I am.
And I am attorney Melaney LaGrone. I am, like I said, in Lawrenceville, Georgia, but just like Audra, we handle immigration all throughout the United States. So it does not have to be just here in Georgia. You can reach me at 678-250-5449. Our website, of course, is lagronelaw.com. And we are on all social media platforms as well. IG, Facebook, and on TikTok. On TikTok, it's actually Attorney Mel. But on IG,
I like that.
Facebook, it is attorney, or it's a LaGrone Law. So, all right. We have any closing remarks before we go?
Well, I have hope. I always have hope in this business, in this practice of immigration law. And I feel like my mission is to bring that hope to as many people as I can, to help as many people as I can to navigate this immigration process. And I'm excited, looking forward to see what the next 3 years are going to bring with the Biden administration. So thank you for having me, Melaney.
You are welcome, Audra. And yes, the same, me too. It's like, there's hope. And we just want everyone out there to realize you just have to make a decision, because we're going to walk you through the whole entire process. And basically, like Audra said, hold your hand, because it is a difficult and challenging process, and it's stressful. Just keep having that hope, make that decision, and hopefully we can bring you, each month other, tips and tricks and things like that on our platform, and educate you to make sure that you all do the right thing.
Yeah, call a lawyer and ask for advice. It'll help you.
Exactly. Don't do it on your own.
That's right. Please don't do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Audra, thank you so much for being here, and thank everyone who has been with us for this last hour on WCEG Network, Beyond the Border.
Awesome. And thank you to Penny, our producer. Thank you so much.
Yes. So excited to be back.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Thanks, Audra. You too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.